So this is the bike that I used for the Colorado Trail, all 530 miles of it. It is a Kona Heihei DL Trail 2016 version. So it's all aluminum frame, 1x drivetrain with an XT rear derailleur. I switched out the cassette on the back. It's still Shimano XT, but it has the 46 tooth as opposed to the 42 tooth. And I switched out the stock race face effect direct mount front derailleur for a wolf tooth. It came with a 34 tooth, and I put a 30 tooth on it instead. I could have gone down to a 28. I actually would have preferred that, I think, just to ride a little bit more often on the uphills and with a little bit less effort. But the 30 tooth was fine. I mean, I was going to be pushing a little bit anyway, so that wasn't really a big issue. I ride clipless. I much prefer that. I feel like it's a lot more efficient, but I know some people like platforms, so that's fine. It has a Fox 3.4 fork in the front, which I wanted something a little beefier. I had looked at the Salsa Spearfish, and just because it had shorter travel rear suspension, but I just wanted something a little beefier in the front, plus this frame fit me a little bit better, so I went with that one. It's got 100 millimeters of travel in the back and 120 in the front. I thought that was a great mix. I think if you're a taller rider and like to ride a little more aggressively, you could easily increase your travel and go with like a 130 or even 140 if you wanted, or something like a Salsa Horse Thief. I think it would work great because they still pedal plenty efficiently, but this was a perfect bike for me, and it was a little more efficient in the back, so I really, really liked it. It comes stock with a 2.2 Icon in the back and a 2.2 Ardent in the front. I switched out the Ardent for an Ardent Race, just because with the narrower 25 millimeter rims, going up to a 2.4 Ardent would just make a weird tire profile, and I didn't want to spend the money to replace the rims. So this is what I went with, and it worked fine. I would have liked a 2.3 Icon in the back, 2.35. But this is the largest I could get with the frame clearance on this thing without worrying about things getting caught in there or whatever. So, and I'll talk about what I would change later on. This is what I have. Bags. So I have a Revelate Sweet Roll in the front, which held my sleeping bag and extra clothes, including 2 pairs of lightweight tights, one that was a 3/4 and one was a full length, warmer gloves, thin wool cap, a fleece, and lightweight long sleeve, tech long sleeve. Here on the front, I kept the tripod, which the camera is currently mounted to, so I just kept that right there for easy access. GoPro went right here, and I had a Nightrider Lumina 350 on the front, which I never used, but we wanted to have lights in case we did have to ride at night for any reason. Revelate Mountain Feedbag. This thing was phenomenal because it allowed me to keep all the little stuff that I used, like sunscreen and hand sanitizer and our Sawyer filter, all really easily to hand, so I could use it without a problem. I also have a headlamp, chamois cream, and an EpiPen in there for allergies. And we actually ended up I bought the larger Sawyer filter because we had the Mini initially and it was just so slow. So I bought a larger one in Buena Vista, and that was excellent because it reduced our water stops by they were like a third of the time. So that was fantastic. I have no Overhead Negra top tube bag. I forget the name of it right now, sorry, but it's just kind of their standard top tube bag, which worked fine. I've never been enamored with it, but it's also been with me on almost every bikepacking trip. So there you go. It has worked just fine. The only issue I have with it is it doesn't really mesh well with my frame bag, so I kind of had to tie it funky so it didn't flop around all over the place. But it worked great. It held plenty of food. Revelate Designs jerry can, which also held probably 5 Cliff Bars and a nut butter or 2 kind of jammed in there. So food. My frame pack is a custom 3 Toes Threadworks. Derek runs it out of his basement, I believe, in Grand Rapids, and I live 2 hours away from Grand Rapids, Michigan, so I kind of want to support local if I could. He did a great job. The one qualm I had with it is the zipper was kind of hard to open and close sometimes, but other than that, I mean, it fits the frame perfectly, held on really well. Really no complaints other than that. So this generally held food and occasionally like contacts and other toiletries. And down at the bottom, I shoved 2 extra pairs of brake pads and some like tough tape for any repair needs that we had. This is the Lezyne Spork Drive pump, which works really, really well. And mounts. It has a mount that goes onto your bottle bosses, and so you can keep it on the outside of your bike and not take up frames, like frame bag space, which was fantastic. I had a liter of water. This is a clean canteen in the Bedrock Bags Honecker bag, which looks flimsy but holds on phenomenally well. So I would definitely recommend that, because I do not have down tube bottle bosses, and so I needed something else that would go on without having to drill into the frame, because I didn't want to void the warranty. And so this works fantastically. So I would highly recommend one of those. I also had a tube that was on there with I think they're called voila straps, and so that was stuck on there, a ski strap, just again to stick something on the frame and not take up bag space. That worked great. I eventually had to throw that in the rear when the Icon did get a sidewall puncture, and I think it's just because the tires had been put on so long ago and most of the stands had dried up that didn't seal, and so I had to throw a tube in there, which was fine. That was on the second to last day. And the Revelate Designs Pika bag here in the back, which held my Thermarest, barebag rope and barebag first aid kit, another tube, and rain gear, and occasionally food if for like the longer stretches when there wasn't enough room in my frame bag. And then I also had a Camelback 14er 20-liter backpack that I kind of threw, that I had the drone in, as well as 2 water bottles in the side pockets, because I don't really like using Camelbacks, just because of taste, and bottles are easier to fill. And various other odds and ends. I had a down jacket in there. Occasionally I put my rain jacket in there if there wasn't room back here. And other electronics that I wanted to make sure were going to stay dry, because I had a pack covered for that. That covers pretty much everything. I loved everything about this setup, with, I'm trying to think if there were any exceptions to that. I think the only thing that I would consider changing would be maybe to get a different top tube bag, just that would mesh a little bit better with my frame bag. But other than that, things worked really flawlessly. I would love to get a slightly slimmer seat pack, just because my tire clearance here, because I'm so short, is not fantastic, and so that I would change a little bit. Otherwise, worked great. I was really happy with the bike.